So today I went moonboarding, and in this video I'll share how I like to go about my moonboarding session. I did have a pretty strong moonboarding sessions, so not all moonboarding sessions are like this, but let's just hop into it. I want difficult. I realized that if I wanted to improve as a climber, I needed to always challenge myself. And for me, the moonboard is literally packed full of challenges that I cannot do yet, which is totally a good thing. And I know some people will perceive progression as sending the route, but when I am training on the moonboard, that's just not how I view it. Because when I moonboard, all I care about is getting better. And if I get better, that is my perception of yay. So this V4, totally warm up, but I totally made it harder than it had any right to be. And so instead of using all 10 holes, I opted to skip 6 of the holes. And this is just something I do from time to time, kind of like a self-imposed challenge, just to make it a little bit more challenging for me. Of course, I don't do it every single time, but just from time to time. Tip 1, smear your feet. And as you can see, the moonboard has fixed holes that you can use for your hands and or your feet, but it also has this board that you can smear on with your off leg. Doing so, you can create balance and stability. And now the smear, it doesn't really need to be excellent. You just need to apply like 10 pounds of force against the wall, and that 10 pounds of force more often than not will help you make the difference between a yay moment and a nay moment. Don't settle. When I am training on this board, I have particular rules that I follow. No dabs, no using the edges, and limbs cannot go behind the board. All sit starts, and an indisputable match finish. And this is just me telling myself that if I do send the problem, that it was 100% me, myself, and I. And from any viewer's perspective, there's no question as to whether I did it or not. I feel like it creates a sense of 1, consistency, and 2, accountability, and 3, a higher standard for myself, which I think is important if I want to become better. And so this climb right here, I theoretically finished this climb like 3 times already. But the first 3 times weren't good enough because my match finish wasn't as solid as I wanted it to be. And so I went ahead and did it, and I made my match indisputable. Grades or sandbag. So because the grades on the moonboard are massively sandbag, I just like to use the grades on the moonboard as kind of like a general metric, where the higher the number, the harder it should be, the lower, the easier it should be. But it's not always like that, which is why I just view the moonboard as a training tool for me. As long as I am trying hard, it is good enough. And right now, this V6 problem, if I have encountered it out in the wild, in the rocklands, it would be at least a V9. Man, it's hard. Safe falls on hard moves. Now, something I really enjoy about the moonboard is I can fall a lot on very hard moves and hardly ever get hurt. Since the moonboard is only so tall, what this generally means is that all the problems are generally really tight and compact and hard. This means you can try hard right off of the bat, off of the first move, all the way up to the last move. And I find this very, very convenient for training very powerful moves and getting stronger. You know, instead of spreading a problem across 15 feet of height and having the crux say somewhere near the top where you could fall and totally not end up in a happy location, you simply compress it down to a moonboard size, and every move is hard and every single fall is super safe. And therefore you can try harder without having to worry about breaking anything. Now, this problem right here, I have been working on for 5 to 6 sessions now, and every time I moonboard, I like to run the exact same projects that I have a couple times until I finally get them down. And for this problem, today I did make tremendous progress. You probably can't tell because I can't even grab the second move. But the first session, I was having trouble just establishing, and I wasn't even close to holding on to this move. Progress is in the moves. The way I see it, the moonboard is just one big checklist of moves I cannot do. Take Supernova, for example. It has 6 moves. I can do 3 of them. And the way I like to break it down is I'm not really concerned about doing the entire problem. I'm just concerned about doing individual moves one after another. And for me, this makes it more feasible inside my head to force progression. And so though it may not look like not a lot is happening, that is totally because not a lot is happening. But for me, as a guy who spent 5 to 6 sessions on this already, I can actively tell that I'm getting better at it. Therefore, something's a little bit happening, even though it may be taking a while, and you may not be able to tell at first glance. But again, this is a training tool for me. And if I feel the progression, I think that's all that matters, right? Yay. Tip 2, square feet. So the foot chips are built like squares. And with these squares, there's a left side, there's a top, and there's a right side. Depending on where you place your feet, you're going to get a different amount of register. Now, for this problem, I started with the foot on the right side. I readjusted, pushed it to the left side, and doing so allows me to drag my body a little bit more towards the left when I do the move. And it's just these tiny nuances on the moonboard that makes it a little bit easier to climb on, and the more you get to know it, the easier it will be to climb on. And it's not just oh, be strong and big and tall, there's always nuance because climbing always has nuance. Tip 3, downtime stretching. During the break time of climbing and resting, I generally like to do some light stretching, especially when I'm moonboarding. For me, this is a good way to maintain my flexibility without having to add in an additional time slot throughout my day or week or weekends or day or life. Because in, say, like a 2-hour session of climbing, let's be honest, about 90 minutes is spent sitting and resting. And if you want to be a little bit more proactive climber, use it for your mobility work. Just some of it, not all of it. Tip 4, brush your hose. Brush your hose. It really does help improve the quality and the feeling of it. Also, don't forget to brush the footholds. It's probably gonna be hard to get better. I have come to the conclusion it's probably gonna be hard to get better. Do you know when like a strong climber says, oh, it's a 1 move V11 into a 5 move V13? Well, I'm just over here like I haven't done a V11 yet. I have no idea what you're talking about. And so instead of me cycling through moonboard problems looking for challenging moves I can do, the minute I find a problem with a move or moves that I cannot do, regardless of the grade, right? Because the moonboard sandbag, I'm just like, yes, this is a worthy opponent. When I climb you, I would have become better. And this is mostly just because I'm kind of sick and tired of not being better climber, and so I started moonboarding again. The fingery nature of it, the bigger moves, the compact difficulty, the applicable strength to outdoor climbing, the safe environment, it's exactly what I need to push my climbing to the next level. It's what I'm hoping, and it's been working. It's okay to be humble. I think because I'm so positive in my approach to moonboarding this time around, without like having to check off every single benchmark, and I'm just trying hard and trying to get better at each move one at a time, that I'm very okay with spending an entire session without sending a single problem. Yeah, so it's like I don't mind being weak. I just have a problem with staying weak. And as long as I get stronger, even though from whoever's perspective you're looking at it's still weak, well, as long as I'm getting better, that's all that really matters to me. And of course, I know I'm not that particularly weak, but you know what I'm trying to say here. Tip 5, make the hard move doable. Now, when it comes to hard moves on the moonboard and in life in general, there's basically 2-step process for being able to do it. 1, hold onto the move without using your feet. And then step 2, go into the move from an easier position. An easier position could be from the ground. It could be from one hold up. It could be just an easier position to get into it. And this usually works approximately 100% of the time. It may not work right away, but as the what's that word called, sessions progresses, it will work. Tip 6, do what you can. Now, even if I can't do the first move or the first few moves of a boulder problem that's difficult, I'll still try the latter half of it, because again, this is training for me. I just need to try really, really hard to feel like I'm accomplishing something. And therefore, by trying very, very hard, I tend to accomplish things. Even if it's not the total goal, it's a tiny step on this long, long road. Trust in the fun. I really don't give a darn or damn about the process or being disciplined or motivated. I never subscribe to the methodology of making sacrifices or anything of that nature. I climb because I think it's fun. And for me right now, it's very fun to get better at climbing. It's also a bit exciting. It just feels good to do a move that your first time doing it, you had no idea what it was or how it was even conceivable. But now that after 5 to 6 sessions that I could do it, I'm just like, oh, I'm a better climber now, yay. And it's fun to be better. So on days where I feel particularly weak, it's not a problem. It's more about how good can I be when I feel weak. I don't always need to be good, but I always need to utilize what I do have at the moment. Tip 7, move along. I typically move on to my next project when I can no longer perceive that I am making any tangible improvements on my current boulder problem that I am doing. And this typically comes in the form of a sudden reaction or surprise. Like for example, today my left hand dry fire off this hold, which it has never done before, and I took that as a sign to move on along. Multiple projects. Now when I moonboard, I like to have 2 to 4 projects at a time. This just gives me a variety of movements on a variety of holds to avoid overuse. And of course, just because your body is tired of doing this one move, it doesn't mean your body is no longer able to do other forms of other harder moves. And for my projects, I don't search for any particular style. I simply sort by highly rated, and I just grab the first one I see. Therefore, my problem selection isn't biased, and I'm not playing to any particular side besides the side of, okay, I got a problem, let me do it no matter what it is. Though I will say there's only one type of problem I avoid, and those are pockets, and that's only because I don't like pocket. Not that I'm bad at them, I'm not. Tip 8, do all of it. So even when I fall off the start move right away, I'll still try to run the problem if I know that I have like the second half of it semi down, and this just helps build the stamina for it, not to mention muscle memory. And again, I am training, I'm not trying to send. So even if I fall off and I'm a little bit tired and I'm no longer optimal for sending, I'm like, oh well, I'm still training, so let me just hop back on and bust out a couple more moves. Yeah. That's how I view it. Always effort. Now, when I do my projects, it doesn't matter if I do an easy project first or a hard project first. The only thing that matters is I'm gonna try my very best to do all these projects, because the reason why they're my projects is because they weren't something that I could do immediately. Therefore, when I do them, I try to hold nothing back. I don't try to conserve because I know I'm doing something harder later, or I don't try to hold back or go all the way to the balls to the wall. You know what I mean? Every problem I climb, regardless of the grade, I couldn't do it before. It's a project, and if it's a project, I should give it my bestest shot. And so I typically have a V6 project, a V7 project, and 2 V8 projects. Now, the reason why I have 2 V8 projects is because I want some variation in that higher level of difficulty, because typically speaking, it should work like this, that the higher the V grade is, the harder it is, and I don't want to be stuck doing just one super hard V8 boulder project for a while. I'd rather be stuck doing 2 very hard V8 boulder projects for a while, and have the V7 and the V6 boulder projects change like after every 2 to 3 sessions once I get them down, and have the V8 ones change every, say, 5 to 8 sessions once I get those down. And so I would typically spend approximately 20 to 30 minutes per project, starting at the V6 level, and then I move up to V7 and then V8 and then to the other V8. And then once I come a little bit more fatigued, I'll bump it back down to, say, a V7, and it might be a different boulder this time around, or I might bump it down to a V6. It might be a different boulder this time around. I am training for climbing by climbing. So if you kept track, I basically only did 6 climbs today. 2 of them I sent, but those 2 were like kind of like warm-ups, and 1 of them I basically did like 3 times already. And so the other 4 climbs I did were just projects, and I touched all of them for like 20-30 minutes, and I made progress on all of them. Did I send any of them? Nah. And that's just typically how my moonboarding sessions go. I project projects one after another until I get them. Once I do, I just replace them with another one. It could take me 2 sessions, could take me 1 session, could take me 5 sessions, probably could take me 10 sessions, who knows. I guess my thinking is, why would I do climbs that I know I can do in only 1 session? I feel like that doesn't really help me push the envelope, and I need to push the envelope. I need to look at a boulder and say, there's absolutely no goddamn way I can climb this, and then without doubt, doubly eventually find a way to climb it. And that's when I know I would have gotten better. And you know, just for a full disclosure, that was simply the moonboarding, just the moonboarding of my climbing session. I did do like a really awesome warm-up, followed by like some awesome hangboarding, and I did finish my climbing session with like some hangboarding and some general strength, but that'll be maybe for like another video. Anyways, hopefully this gave you some form of insight into my bouldering, moonboarding, la 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 la. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, partner.